how are you getting on? Welcome back to Plastic Paddy's podcast, Cade Meal Vulture, episode 20, if you can believe it. Thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you for sticking with me. I can't believe I've been doing this for 20 weeks. I know I say stuff like that all the time, but it's crazy. But I'm absolutely loving it. It's so much fun, especially times like this where I'm interviewing quite a few people like back to back. Yeah, I love it. So for all those of you who've been keeping up, you'll know that I'm currently doing like a little mini series in the lead up to the Edinburgh Fringe Festival, where I've been interviewing some incredible female creatives of all different disciplines, so like actors, directors, writers and comics, just finding out about their shows that they're taking up to the Fringe Festival. And yeah, I've been absolutely loving it. There's 2 episodes already out. I'll link them up here. Go and watch those. This week is the 3rd instalment, and I will be talking to actor, comedian and writer Leigh Douglas. She is going to be telling us all about her show that she's taken to the Fringe, A Bit Celtic. So yeah, lads, enjoy the episode. Leigh Douglas, how are you? Welcome to Plastic Paddy's podcast.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for coming on. I'm absolutely buzzing to have you. We're going to jump straight into the juicy juice. Why you're here. You have got a show.
Yeah.
Going to Edinburgh Fringe Festival.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Tell us about it.
So it's called A Bit Celtic.
I love the name, by the way. Like, class name.
It is a split bill with a lovely, lovely Welshman named Karen Blaney.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I'm really excited that we're kind of working together. It's both of our first time taking a comedy show to Fringe.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, he's just fab, so I'm so happy to be working with him.
Yay, exciting. So you said first time going to the Fringe. How are you feeling? You nervous?
I'm excited. I think, it feels really good kind of dipping a little toe with a split bill. It feels like much less pressure than obviously debuting with a full hour would be. And I've been up before as an actor, and I went up last year and just did some open spots. So this feels like a good little baby next step.
Yeah. Oh, amazing. That's good. So you said the show is called A Bit Celtic.
Yes.
Which is a fantastic name, and I love that you're doing it with a Welshman. What is the inspiration behind the show?
Basically, I think, Carwyn and I were friends before either of us started stand-up. We kind of started stand-up about the same time, and always like massively, supported each other, gone to each other's gigs, all that good stuff. And I think we've just always, he does incredible stand-up in the Welsh language as well. I wish I could do stand-up in Irish. Unfortunately, my Irish is non-existent. But I think we've always kind of connected over having, a national identity as a big part of what our sets are about and what we like to talk about. So it just seemed like a natural focus, really, for the thing that we share as comics. Really.
Yeah. Oh, amazing. So you knew each other before stand-up. How did you guys meet?
We met on a comedy writing course that we were doing, but we actually both come from a theatre background. So when we met on the writing course, I think both of us, there were some comedians who were on that writing course, and I think both of us kind of had the same thought at the same time that maybe we'd give stand-up a go. And that was about 2 years ago now.
Oh my God. So you are a comedian, an actress, and also a writer.
Yes. Yeah.
But you've been at the comedy for about 2 years.
Yes, yeah.
What made you want to get into it? Because personally, for me, I think comedians are like a glutton for punishment or something. For me, it just feels like torturous.
I mean, there are definitely, when it goes badly, there are nights where it definitely feels like that. But no, I think, I had a rough couple of years before the pandemic with personal stuff. And so, I love the theatre. It will always be my first love, but I just wasn't in a place where I could, sitting through a really like earnest, worthy piece of theatre really felt like it was where I needed to be. I just wanted to have a laugh. And I think I just always loved stand-up. And so I think coming out of the pandemic, I was like, there's no time like the present to kind of give it a try.
Good for you, girl. You just wanted to do something and just went for it.
Yeah.
Amazing. So how do one go about even starting? What did you do? You did is there like courses for stand-up? Is there literally somewhere you go and like practice to be a stand-up?
I mean, yeah, so I think first of all, I went to, and the stand-up that I was familiar with before I started was like, watching people's hour-long comedy specials.
Yeah.
Obviously, there's like a 10-year journey to get there. So I think the first thing I did was I went and watched some open mics so that I would get a sense of what open mic comedy was and like, who I could maybe identify with, where I could kind of like place myself a little bit. And yeah, then we were still kind of half in lockdown at this point. So I did like a weekend Zoom course.
That's amazing. I love that.
And yeah, then I did my first gig on Zoom, which, I mean, it did prompt a little bit of an existential crisis because, everyone had their mics off and their cameras off in the audience. So I had no idea whether people were laughing. I was just in my bedroom speaking into the void. But, maybe that was a blessing in disguise.
Yeah.
If it went badly, I'd absolutely no idea.
Amazing. So I'm really sorry. Am I saying his name correctly? His name is Carwin, is that right?
That's right. Yeah.
Okay, amazing. So you met him on this course?
No, we'd met previously on a writing course.
On a writing course, I see. Okay. So you are an Irish woman.
Yes.
And he is a Welsh man.
Yes.
How was it working with somebody from different cultural backgrounds, but like you say, you've got that overriding sort of national identity of being Celtic? Did you find many similarities between like Irish culture and Welsh culture?
Yeah, definitely. I think like that kind of sense of like family and like close knit communities, I think is very true of both places. And maybe a bit of a sense that you've betrayed the homeland a little bit by moving to London. I think definitely something for both of us. Rugby, obviously, although I know a little about that. I'm not a rugby gal, other than socially. But yeah. But no, definitely, I think there's lots of crossover.
Yeah, amazing. Okay, so how do you think your Irish background specifically influences your like comedy style, writing style? Do you think it kind of informs everything that you write about?
It absolutely informs everything.
Yeah.
I think, I think as someone who was kind of raised in the context of going to church and going to mass and having lots of kind of aunties and cousins and living next door to my granddad and all that good stuff. It's like my mum is English. So I'm half Irish, half English, and so I think as well because of that, and mum was living in Ireland when I was growing up. I think I was so in the center of living in like an Irish identity, but at the same time I was seeing it from the outside through my mum's eyes, and so. And I guess to a certain extent, my mum was obviously treated a bit like an outsider. And so I think I've always kind of been able to see it from the inside and the outside at the same time.
Yeah.
So I've always just found it absolutely, I think outside of being Irish myself, I think Irish culture has always fascinated me.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we emigrated when I was going into secondary school as well. So then I was in the States and had to kind of be like the Irish immigrant kid in American school.
Where in America did you go?
Yeah, so.
Oh, okay, nice. I've been to Seattle. It seems like quite a progressive.
Yes, definitely. I think like I love Seattle. It's still one of my favorite places to visit and go back to. But I think it's a whole other level as a kid when you are suddenly in a completely different context and everything that you've taken for granted about just the way that everyone is suddenly being challenged. And, having kids being like, oh, you don't have any friends who are a different religion to you. And I was like, no, but that's normal. And they're like, and like American kids, they're like they go to all their friends' churches and like, they explore all different spirituality and like, that just, I mean, Ireland is very different now than the Ireland that I that I was a little kid in, but like just at the time did not exist in Ireland.
Yeah, I can imagine. Where in Ireland are you from?
I'm from Bray.
Okay, yeah, I know Bray. Yeah, definitely. So, and it's just your life, isn't it? Obviously, I'm sure comedians and writers, you just draw from your own experiences, and your experience of life has been Ireland.
Yeah.
How long did you stay in America for?
For most of secondary school, till I left school,
You've kept your accent. You know, sometimes people come back with like a little twinge of American.
No, I definitely did develop an American accent about 2 weeks to being there. But then I did eventually move back to Dublin, and it went away. Out of
Oh dear, kids are so cruel. But how was it being the Irish kid in America? Were they like, wow, like your accent? Were they all like?
Yeah, I mean, it definitely had it. It definitely had its benefits. I mean, I think it was kind of a mixed bag. Definitely, I think there were levels on which it made me kind of like cool and like European.
Yeah.
But
that monolith that is European. According to Americans.
Yeah, but I suppose like anywhere, there was also a slight mean girl dynamic, which was not helped by the fact that as like a good Irish woman, I was my full adult height and like a woman's body type from like age 9, and I was like this 10-year-old
into school looking like a full woman.
Exactly, which did not at times help my popularity with other girls, but we got there in the end. I made some really nice friends in the end.
I feel like I just imagine America. All we know of it is like movies and TV, and I just imagine it to be like that. So when you said like Mean Girl, I literally thought that's how I picture it. Like everybody in high school, like in their, because they don't wear uniforms in America, right?
No.
Yeah, so it's like everybody just in there like pink and heels, and all the girls like bitching. It's so funny how it just like sticks in your mind. But I just picture America as like these places not real. It can't be real.
I did feel like I was in a
did you really?
For the whole time?
Yeah,
definitely.
I can imagine. So back to A Bit Celtic. It's a split bill. So how does coming up with a split bill work? Is it like you write your half and he writes his half and you just mush it together, or is it a more collaborative process?
Yeah, I mean, obviously we're pals, so we like help each other write sometimes, and we'll like help each other work through ideas, and talk about our sets when we see each other, and add any kind of like extra punchlines that come into our heads. But it's very much Carwyn does his set for about 20 minutes, and I do my set for about 20 minutes, or vice versa. Yeah,
amazing. So there's no pressure to be like, oh, I'm writing this, so you can't write because it's too similar or whatever. Like you kind of just have got freedom to do whatever you want.
I mean, I think luckily the thing with me and Carwyn is the thing that brings us together is so much the Celtic culture. But other than that, we are so different as comics that like I feel like we don't need to worry about too much about crossover. He doesn't have very much like queer dating content.
Yeah.
So that kind of helps.
Brilliant. Edinburgh Fringe Festival is obviously it's like a huge global platform. People travel from all over the world to go there. What do you find? What are you most excited about being, part of such a sort of cultural phenomenon, I suppose?
I mean, it's just really exciting. Like when I went up last year, I met so many comics from Ireland, and it meant that I was able to start gigging at home as well. Which is so lovely to like book in a few gigs and then be like, I just so hopefully.
Yeah. Oh, that's lovely.
And so I think, the London circuit can definitely be a bit of a bubble. And so I think it's really good to get to go up to like an international festival like Edinburgh and realize that there are other comedies.
There's life outside of London.
Other people to connect with,
Absolutely.
In terms of like other comedians and also in terms of audience. There's lots of audience that go to Edinburgh that wouldn't necessarily find a particular room above a pub in Camden,
So did you say you've been to the Fringe before but not performing? You just went?
I've been to the Fringe as an actor.
As an actor, okay, I see. What would you think, like, is there much difference? Do you feel different now going up as a comedian? Is there?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's definitely like it's a very different thing. When I went up as an actor, I was doing like children's theatre. So
Okay.
I was, 11 a.m. every morning, Martha, in the secret garden doing it. Okay, Yorkshire accent.
Yeah.
And then I was just kind of, free to like go and see stuff all day, kind of carefree. And doing children's theatre at the Fringe is great because like there's loads of families looking for family friendly stuff to go to.
Yeah.
Whereas I think obviously going up as a comedian is a little bit more pressure.
The grown ups.
Yeah.
The grown ups are there.
Yeah, I mean I did when I was classic 21-year-old. I I did go up with a play that I wrote when I was 21, which just felt like big pressure at the time. Queer fairy tale.
Oh my god.
So that's the closest that I've come to, but even then there was a kind of production company behind me.
Yeah.
Whereas obviously this time it's just me and
Just you guys. Yeah. So do you sort of know what to expect? Do you know what you're going to have to do when you get there? Like, I spoke to Caroline McAvoy recently, and she explained. I didn't know this, but she kind of explained about like flight. Like you have to fly yourself.
You have to pull in your own audience, definitely.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
And have you come up with like a tag team like plan, or are you just going to go up and see what happens?
I mean, as a classic, I'm sure Carwyn will be pulling in his audience, and I will be attempting to pull in mine. So, any gals who look like they might be queer, or even if they don't, I'll be like, hey,
you're coming in.
Some lesbian content.
Yeah.
I'm sure Carwyn will be like chatting to his lads.
Yeah.
Like, you look like you might play rugby.
Come on in.
Yeah.
I'm guessing he won't be doing much in the way of the Welsh language at
not at the Fringe. No, I think he's doing English.
Yeah. So what are you like? When I was saying this as well to Caroline, when I think of things like the Dublin Fringe, I think of it to be very kind of glam a little bit. Like everyone's doing their shows, but they're also like, invited to after parties and everyone's like sipping on champagne. Is it nothing like that?
In my experience, one word that I would not use to describe the Edinburgh Fringe Festival is glamorous.
Is it like, if not glamorous, then is it? Because surely everybody's just getting pissed everywhere. It's just like loads of shows in loads of pubs. Or is it more? Do people keep it a bit more professional?
I mean, I think there's that experience is definitely available if you want it. I think, maybe like 19, 20-year-old me up doing kids theatre. Maybe there was a couple of times where I was a bit hungover under the stage lights at 11 a.m. the next morning.
Of course.
Yeah, I'm not sure that it's as much of interest to me anymore. Yeah, but I mean, I'm very, very lucky in that my auntie and uncle live in Edinburgh, so I'll be staying with them.
So you've not had to like fork out for a hotel and all the rest of it?
No, I haven't, which is a very fortunate position to be in.
That's so exciting. How long is the show at the Fringe for?
We're just up for a week, so we're up to the 18th to 24th.
Ooh, nice. And then when you're done with the Fringe, what usually happens with a show? Is it just for the Fringe, or will you be like taking it anywhere else afterwards? What I'm asking is, am I going to be able to come and see your show?
Well, we are doing a preview at the Museum of Comedy on the 30th of July.
Okay, amazing.
So, yes, that's at 8:30 p.m. on the 30th. We'll be doing a preview.
Nice.
Before we go up, yeah.
But then usually after Edinburgh, it's kind of.
Yeah, I mean, I think, I suppose it depends. I mean, Carwyn might have a conversation and decide we want to do a couple more shows after the Fringe. But I think at the moment, it's as I say, it's just a chance for us to kind of dip our toe in.
Yeah.
With a lovely little 20 minutes.
Yeah.
Or we take the leap to a 40 or a 45 minutes. Yeah.
Nice. And do you just do one show a night?
Well, we will be just doing A Bit Celtic once a day.
Yeah.
But then we will also be jumping on other spots. I'm opening for Chris Hall a couple of the nights.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, so we'll be running around the place doing other spots as well. Yeah.
So excited. Do you know what? I must go to the Fringe one year. I feel like
It's so fun.
Yeah.
It's such an experience, and like, there's absolutely you have experiences that you would just never have otherwise.
Yeah.
When you just are like, what's on at 2 p.m. Let me go and see this random thing.
Oh, there's just stuff going all throughout the day.
Oh yeah.
Oh, of course. You said even kids stuff at
Yeah.
like 11 a.m. Oh, that's so cool. Okay, we'll talk about a little bit more about your kind of personal comedic style. A lot of people kind of use stand-up comedy as a way to talk about kind of maybe social issues. You are obviously an out and proud lesbian, and what do you, if anything, kind of hope to convey to your audience about social issues through your comedy, if anything? If it's literally just, I just want to have a laugh, that's the answer. I just thought I'd ask.
No, definitely. I mean, like, I think it's always really exciting when I walk out on stage and like one of the first things I say is that I'm queer and I'm in front of a crowd that's maybe like predominantly male or like predominantly of a demographic that, maybe they don't have a lot of contact with the LGBT community in their day-to-day life, and you can still make them laugh. I think that always feels like a huge win for me. I think
breaking down the barriers.
Yeah. I think also like I was not what I pictured in my head when I thought of lesbians when I was younger, so I think getting to go out on stage and be like the girliest girl there's ever been, and then also talk about being gay, I think is important to me. Because I think, a lot of people maybe would presume that I'm straight or, would see me that way. So no, definitely. I think it's and I think as an actor as well, I definitely had it said to me that maybe it was something I shouldn't mention or like no one ever told me to hide it, but it was like I wouldn't lead with that. You know what I mean? Because you won't get seen for straight parts.
Yeah.
So I think it has been really, because I was an actor before I was a stand-up, I think it has been really empowering that like it is one of the first things that I say when I walk out on stage, and it's something that a lot of my content is about, but straight people can also relate to it because it's about dating or it's about relationships or it's about, identity or whatever.
And, like, who the fuck cares if, it's a stand up from the LGBT community, because you're a human being. And all human beings have those experiences about dating or heartbreak and all of that. So, I get that completely. It must be so freeing for you though now being a comic and not having any, like, your show, you write it, not having anybody to tell you. You don't really talk about that. I would want to be on stage and just be like, I'm fucking gay, because you've been like told to like not talk about it for so long.
And I think when I first came out, I did kind of think that it would be something that I would be more private about. Because it's something that I think at first I was very self-conscious of. Oh, only my friends will know. Now it's something that I like scream about every day, and I'm like, oh my god.
If you don't mind me asking, if you don't want to answer the question, that's absolutely fine. How old were you when you came out?
I suppose like coming out is a process, right? So like I realized it actually for the first time.
I suppose that's more what I meant.
Yeah. When I was at university, which at the time felt relatively late.
Yeah.
And then I suppose I gradually kind of started coming out. Well, I wrote the gay fairy tale. Which like I was still like maintaining I'm straight.
I'm just an ally.
I'm just an ally who felt the need to write a play. And then I suppose I kind of gradually started coming out from there. But it was over the course of kind of years. It definitely took me longer to like come out to my grandparents and stuff. And then I did, and then I suppose I wished I'd maybe done it sooner. But.
I bet it does feel like that when you kind of are like really worried about people's reaction, and then their reaction is great, and then like, oh, I could have avoided this angst the whole time. Like, I should have just ripped the band-aid off.
Like, oh, my Irish Catholic grandparents will never understand. Yeah. Well, no, they do love you. So that's not. I don't want to diminish anyone who's who's experienced it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because that's incredibly tough. Yeah. But
But for you, luckily you had that. Yeah. So you had that support system. That's really nice. So when you're up on stage, how do you kind of, and you're talking about the queer community and your view of the world through a queer lens, how do you find like strike balance between kind of talking about that stuff and still maintaining the humour for maybe an audience that, like you were saying earlier, isn't typically like your audience? Or do you just think, fuck it, I'm going to say what I want to say, I'm not censoring myself, and if you either find it funny or you don't find it funny, or do you kind of find yourself walking the line and trying to not, I don't want to say like people please audiences, but do you know what I mean? Try and maybe cater to other audiences that might necessarily not be your audience.
I think that's something that I'm still kind of playing with. There's definitely nights where I watch the audience come in and I'm like, oh no.
Do you feel like you've got a good eye and you can tell like who's gonna be?
But then sometimes those audiences really surprise me. And then I'm like, oh, I'm so glad that I did the full queer take on the Little Mermaid set. Yeah.
Brilliant.
I'm so glad that I talked about how I had the hots for Ursula. Like, I think because they got on board.
I love it.
But yeah, there are definitely other nights where I'm like, oh God, I did a gig the night after Pride, and I didn't think it through because I was like, oh yeah, every queer in London is hungover today. Like literally every last one.
I know queer people at my show.
And so it just, it was not a good evening for Leigh. But I think I still am to be completely honest, I'm still kind of trying to think about when it's not going my way, and it feels like it's because I've kind of alienated a crowd a little bit. I'm still kind of thinking and learning about how I then kind of like pull that back, or whether it's possible to pull that back. I mean, there's no way that you can make everyone like you all the time. And I think that's what the coming starts.
Same, absolutely same.
There's always going to be those people who are like, I just don't find women funny, and I'm like, well, I'm never realistically going to make you laugh. Like, there's nothing I can do.
What can you do? Sometimes you do just have to kind of like, admit defeat. I suppose it is a case of you cannot like kill yourself trying to please everybody. It's just not worth it. I just sort of think, as much as you do have to put the work into things and bring people to you, your audience will find you, and you will meet the people that your humour, they just absolutely get it and they absolutely love it. So fuck them. If they don't want it, if I'm not for you, I'm not for you. You can't be for everybody. That's exactly right. So have you ever like come out on stage and sort of know straight away? Have you ever had to shuffle a joke around, or at the last minute think, I'm not going to tell that joke because this isn't the audience? Or do you just think, I'm going to do it and see what happens?
I think I am a bit of a glutton for punishment, and then I think I do kind of just tend to like power through.
That's really good. That's really, really good.
And I'm sure that there are people who've left a gig where I've done that thinking that woman is completely insane. She's finally lost it.
But you just power through.
Yeah.
I just think, I think that's the best thing to do. Have you just mentioned then about like people leaving? Has that ever happened like halfway through a gig? Do people just get up and walk out? Has it ever happened to you?
I've not had that. I have had actually with the gay fairy tale that I wrote back in the day. We had keep bearing in mind I'm not out at this point. So this is complex emotions going on. An audience member stood up and said, everything you've seen here is a lie. They're trying to brainwash you. They're going against God.
Oh no.
Yeah, it was really intense. Like she literally stood up in the middle of the play and said that in like, you know, what was a small Fringe venue, there weren't that many people there, and the lead actor's girlfriend at the time stood up then and said, "God loves the gays." And meanwhile, like little closeted me was just like having an absolute conniption.
Oh no.
Yeah.
That's awful. was that a stand-up show, your gay fairy tale?
No, it was a play. It was a play. Yeah.
And she did that in the middle of a play. Oh, that's so horrible.
Yeah.
So I bet it feels good as well when you're like doing stand-up if somebody heckles that you can say something like, just being in a play like, oh my God, I don't know what to do. How do you deal with hecklers at your stand-up? Do you get any? I feel like the LGBTQ community are really supportive, and if that's like your main audience, I feel like you wouldn't maybe get that many.
No, I don't. Sometimes actually it's like it's actually more that I, you know, because if I'm talking about like the awkwardness of coming out or the awkwardness of being queer, sometimes it might be more likely that you just get a queer person in the room just being like, oh,
and I'm just feeling the pain with you.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
Yeah. You're very lucky. I don't know what that's like. I'm saying I don't know what I do if I can't ever be a stand-up comedian. I do not have the balls for it. But what do you have like stuff queued up in your brain to like get people with if they are heckling you, or do you just kind of have to deal with it on the spot?
Yeah, I think it's kind of, you need to judge it on like a case by case basis, because you need to kind of, I guess, get a sense of like where the rest of the crowd is on it. But yeah, the worst thing to do is just let it go unacknowledged. You kind of have to dress it
kind of put them in their place.
You just have to gauge like how hard you can go at them and not lose the rest of the crowd.
Oh my God, it's such a flipping skill. I think two things would happen to me. I would either get really angry at them and it would it's not funny anymore. It's like, oh, they might fight, or I would cry, just like, okay, I'm really sorry, I'm gonna go now. It's so impressive that you guys like have the like wit to like just be able to sort of bat whatever's coming at you. It's really, really good. So Leigh Douglas, you are not only an amazing stand-up comic, you are a triple threat. You are also a writer and an actress. You actually wrote and starred in your own short film called You're Alright Hun.
Yeah.
Share a little bit about the film and what it's about.
Yeah.
I really looked for the full thing to try and watch, and I could only see the trailer.
It's still doing film festivals, so it's not publicly available.
Okay, but the trailer was it was amazing. Tell us a bit about it.
Yeah, so it's semi-autobiographical. It's probably the most autobiographical thing that I've written, but a much more heightened version of reality. But yeah, it was inspired by my experience of being a parent for my dad, basically at a kind of unexpected age for something like that to happen. And I suppose the comedy therein of being like the awkwardness of being like a queer young person who's dating while also having this like, you know, like a big kind of like responsibility that you're dealing with.
Yeah.
And how you kind of handle that kind of like a really, really emotionally heavy situation whilst also dealing with like lesbian dating drama.
Yeah. Is it hard, like writing semi-autobiographical stuff? Is it hard to like put yourself into the story?
I think like the character is the situation is very autobiographical. The character is not.
It's not
me. But I think, you know, it was obviously, you know, my dad was very unexpectedly kind of given a year to live, and I think it was a very like, you know, traumatic time, obviously losing him when none of us expected that. But I think writing about it has actually been super useful and finding ways to laugh at it and like remember the joke, because you have to joke during times like that. That was the only way that me and my family were going to kind of get through it. And remembering those kind of laughs we had like in the midst of this insane situation. and so I think, I actually recently found all of I started diaries, I think, when I was about
Oh my God,
7 or 8.
Instagram, it's hilarious.
I've been working on some stand-up that's like my, based off of, all of my diaries from when I was really little. But, I think, since then writing has always been a way of me helping me process stuff.
Yeah.
And I think comedy can be a great healer.
Yeah, it's cathartic, isn't it? Like writing through it and getting it all out and like looking at it maybe from a different lens. And I think what you said is so true. Like, when times are shit, you have to be able to laugh. Like, if you can still maintain I think this about people, if you can still maintain a sense of humor when times are really, really hard, you're bulletproof in life. Like, if if those times aren't going to be kind of the death of you or really like grind you down. And sometimes they can, unfortunately, and it's really tough. But if you can just try and hold on to those little bits of humour, that really is what's going to get you through. I've watched a couple of clips where you're talking about your dad, and he was like this like big Irish, like super Catholic guy. Your mum was like this English, like spiritualist, and like talking about their relationship. That's really funny. You were raised Catholic?
Yes, the deal between my parents was that I would be Catholic and vegetarian. That was the deal that they
That was what your mum got. Yeah. She's like, right, she'll be Catholic, but she's a veggie. That's hilarious. Is your mum back in Ireland?
Mum is a lady of leisure.
Oh,
she spent her time between Seattle, Palm Springs, and Bray.
Oh, yes, I love that. She's like to all her brave things, Oh, on Palm Springs, and then in Palm Springs, she's like, I'm just going to Bray, and everyone's like, what, where?
And they're like, oh my God, you're going to Ireland.
Yeah, they probably are like that. Ireland, That's hilarious. So when shooting You're Alright Hun, was that your first experience of shooting a film?
I've been on film sets and things as just an actor, but and I've kind of like shot some sketches and stuff before, but that was my first like short that I wrote and produced myself.
And how was the experience overall? Was it so exciting?
It was really exciting. I mean, it was also incredibly stressful. And I was really lucky that I got a really great production team around me, so that on the day I really could kind of just focus on being an actor and doing that job, which was amazing. And Katie Ann McDonough, who directed it, is just another brilliant Irish queer gal who we love. And so yes, I'm so lucky that she kind of really took the reins and took ownership as a director over it.
Is it hard to trust somebody when it's been your kind of thing? Is it hard to hand the reins over to someone and let them maybe?
I mean, I've never had any interest in directing whatsoever. And the way that I've always worked from my theatre company days was I was the writer and my co-artistic director was the director. So
you're used to that relationship.
I think it's a relationship that I think I really need as a writer, to have an outside person that I'm bouncing the writing off of. Because I think I don't have the kind of big picture visual vision that a director needs to have. So I really enjoy actually the process of like handing it to a director. Like, you go, hon. You go.
I love it. And was it filmed in Ireland?
No, it was filmed in Stoke Newington.
I love that. But was it set in Ireland?
It was set as like London Irish.
Oh, okay, nice, amazing. This is probably going to be a really tough question, and you don't have to answer it if you don't have an answer. But between writing, acting, and stand-up, if you had to choose which aspect of your career would you say brings you the most fulfillment, and why?
I'm gonna cheat. I mean, obviously, acting was the first love. That's what I went to drama school for. That's always, that's always been the original dream. But I think for whatever reason, I think casting wise, people have never quite known where to put me. And so whether that's to do with like being femme but being queer, or being Irish but also kind of, I guess, being a bit international, whatever it is, it's like people have been like, we don't know where to put you. And so I think the most fulfilling projects that I've gotten to work on as an actor have actually been projects where I've been a writer performer. Yeah. So I think that's my real story. That's kind of ended up being the real passion when I get to do both sides of the coin.
Yeah. So writing, well, you've done it, haven't you? You wrote and starred in your own film, and you write and do your own stand-up. You're living the dream, babes. You're living your dreams. I love it. What advice or tips or anything would you give to people on the come up, like aspiring comedians, actors? What would you say to them?
I would say,
would you say get yourself down to London, or do you think they, you know, if somebody is Irish, or if somebody lives up in Scotland, or somebody from Europe, do you think stay where you are and work with what you've got, or do you think it's important to be in a place like London or New York or wherever that is big and busy and bustling?
I think it's important to make connections make lots of meaningful connections. Yeah. Now, in some ways, obviously, it is easier to do that if you are in like a cultural center of some kind where there just are more people doing that thing. But I think it's definitely possible to also make those really kind of meaningful long-term ties living somewhere more rural or more regional, if you can find a way to kind of like either travel back and forth or just like really connect with regional venues and regional promoters in the case of comedy, or collaborators that, you know, in the case of theater. I mean, I would say as a writer, if you just want to do writing, get a job as a temp receptionist.
So you could literally sit there.
Like you just like as a temp receptionist, people don't expect that much from you, and you can literally have a Word document open all day, every day. The number of things that companies have unwittingly paid me to write.
I love that.
Yeah, it's a great way of being paid to write. Just occasionally answer a phone and make a coffee, you know. So that's a big one, definitely. I would say also, you know, coming out of drama school, etc., it can, and you know, or starting out in open mic comedy, which like I'm in 2 years in, but I'm still very much kind of starting out. But my experience from starting as an actor, it can be really hard not to view your peers as competition.
Okay.
It can be really, really hard. I think it's something that it's really important to be disciplined about because you need people that you can call on the other end of the phone when things don't go your way and who get it. Yeah. Because, you know, like it's obviously so important to have friends in other industries that can kind of put things into context and be like, no one died.
Yeah.
But, you know, when you get the rejection for the big acting job that you really wanted, or when, you know, you don't get through the heat of the stand-up competition, which comes to everyone at various moments, you need the person on the other end of the phone who gets it. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? And if you can't be like authentically vulnerable with your peers because you're seeing them as competition, you'll end up losing those relationships. And that's so sad when it happens, because work is never a reason to lose friends. You know? And so I think it's really important to be disciplined about, like, just because a peer got an opportunity, it doesn't mean that it's being taken away from you. Yeah. It's like, you know, we need to live in a world of abundance.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it's so hard. And it's something I need to like remind myself of regularly. But like,
there's room for everyone.
There's room for everyone.
Yeah.
Exactly.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Oh, that's really nice. What a lovely message. So guys, don't go throwing your good friendships away just because they got something that you wanted. That's like, yeah, I bet it is brutal though. Like, did you ever find, like with acting, did you ever find like you and your friends going up to the same parts or anything?
That definitely happened. Yeah.
Brutal.
And you just have to say, like, me and my best friend from drama school, I'm so happy that we've like found such a good rhythm with it over the years, but it's always come down to, if I don't get it, I hope you do. Yeah. Like, if it's not me, I want it to be you.
Kind.
You know?
Yeah, I think that's the way you have to look at it, isn't it?
Yeah, because otherwise, you're just gonna end up in bitterness town, and no one wants to be there.
Yeah.
No one wants to be there.
Absolutely. And I think you'll find when you start getting bitter about things, that kind of energy, people can sense it from you. And I think especially when you're in a world such as yours, like acting and comedy, you really have to build those connections. And people don't want to be friends with like a bit of Boris. I couldn't think of a name that began with B then. So yeah, I agree. I think you do just have to try and remember to, that there is room for everyone. I bet it's fucking hard to say. Yeah. On the day when your friends just got the audition that you really wanted, there's room for everyone. Yeah. Just remember that. Yeah, definitely. So who would be, if you like shoot the stars, anybody, actor, comedian, writer, who would be your dream collaboration, and what sort of project would you want to make with it, do you think?
Oh God, I mean, I hate to be a walking stereotype, but I mean, I feel like it would have to. I mean, I think I would. I don't know if I think it would be very much R.I.P. me. Like, I think I might die and fall on the floor, but like, so I might not actually survive to get to actually do it. But like, I think, obviously Sharon Horgan, the queen.
Oh, she's unreal. Queen, yeah, she's like, amazing.
Also, like, the absolute poster woman of like writer performer, do it for yourself, make your own stories. Like,